I can write a theology book. Good afternoon, or evening, or maybe morning, wherever you're watching. We're glad to have you join us for Bible study. Today we're going to do lesson 2 of Villains of the Bible. And we're going to be specifically looking at the story of Delilah and how she is a villain in the Bible. And yet, I want you guys to remember as we're doing all of this, God works all things for the good of those who love him, right? So even these villains that we see in the Bible, God used what they did to his benefit, right? Mm-hmm. For us. And so what a joyful thing that is. You're going to need your Bible tonight. What you will see on the screen tonight, and I double checked, it's all going to be the EHV translation.
I am sure that last time you said something else.
That's what I said. I double checked this time. Last time it ended up being NIV. I went back and changed it. But this time it's EHV. But you feel free to use whatever you got at home, and that's just as good. Other things that you need to know is I did put it up on Facebook this week. And if you don't have it there, you can also see it right behind me. Everything's going to magically appear up there. Okay, I got some Samson and Delilah jokes for you. Oh. In the Bible, Samson was a tough man. But his father, Samsonite, was a real hard case. Samsonite. Yeah, I got it. You got that one? All right, how about this one? Samson was the best actor in the Bible. His last act really brought down the house. See, these are good. These ones are good. All right, let's get started. Grab your Bible study, and let's take a look at the opening of our Bible study at the very top. It says, Delilah is enshrined in history as a villain and a temptress. Perhaps the best way to understand her is the sin that she relishes. All sin, especially sexual sin, comes as its own desire and sometimes deadly consequences. Sin binds us, then it blinds us, then it slowly, inexorably grinds us away. In truth, sin will take us farther than we may have intended to go. It will hold us longer than we may intend to stay. Furthermore, it will cost us more than we intend to pay. We must heed the stern warning. Above all else, guard your heart, for it's a wellspring of life. Now go back to that last thing. I underlined or highlighted a couple passages here. Let's talk about those things. Maybe we can get a little discussion going. What do you think that one where it says, all sin, especially sexual sin, comes with its own desire and sometimes deadly consequences? In truth, sin will take us further than we may intend to go. What does that mean? And how can we put that in perspective with Samson? Or in today's world even?
You get lost in it.
Yeah. So you don't realize how bad it is.
Until
right?
it's too late.
Until it's too late. We see this with Samson. I don't want to spoil anything tonight, but one thing that's kind of important to keep in mind is Samson was blinded by love.
Love.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see that he loved her. He loved her. The Bible actually says that he loved her. But yeah, right? And so when we look at this though, what was he actually pursuing? He was pursuing her body.
Yeah.
He was pursuing a sin, right? He didn't love her in maybe a way that God would be pleased with, right? And so that's what this means by it traps us, right? It's harder to get away from.
I think with sexual sin, one of the big things about that is that it's easy to envision something that's not a reality.
Can you go more on that?
Well, a lot of people will buy magazines or videos or something along that line because of the story that it sells, and they find it exciting and romantic, and then they start wishing they had that in their own lives, or it numbs them to the reality of it.
And that's something that they found with men. So men, they found that the way men loved, and this is scientific fact, if you look, the way men loved 30, 40, 50 years ago is very different than the way children are loving today. In fact, when I was doing all this research, one of the things I found is the average 10-year-old is already exposed to pornography for hours a day. And so if you think about that, what the article said is it said they are getting their visualizations, like you said, of what romanticism is from a very sordid, dirty place. And they're thinking that this is love when it's not. Right?
And the same for women with like the romantic paperback novels. I always called them the I can't think of it now. The poses with like
Fabio.
Yeah.
I remember
But
Fabio.
yeah, but that, women would buy into that being romantic when in reality, if you look at it closer, it's not.
Yeah, it's trash.
And that takes you further down that path of sin.
And it even blinds you into thinking what love is.
Yes.
Right? Love, instead of love being, as we read in 1 Corinthians, love is blind, love is caring, love is, all these things. Love becomes sexual.
Yeah.
About lust, right? And you might even hear people from time to time say they fell in lust with each other as opposed to they fell in love with each other.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to Judges. Now we're going to read the whole account, or not whole account, the first several verses of this account. And we're going to look specifically for the way Delilah interacts with people. All right? So can I get somebody that would be willing to read verses 4 through 9?
Sometime after that, Samson fell in love with a woman from the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. The sirens of the Philistines approached her and said, "Persuade him to reveal where his great strength comes from and how we may overpower him. Tie him up and humiliate him. Each of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me what the source of your great strength is and how you can be tied up in order to humiliate you." Samson answered her, "If anyone ties me up with 7 new bowstrings that have not yet been dried, I will become weak and be like any other man." So the sirens of the Philistines brought her 7 new bowstrings that had not yet been dried, and she tied him up with them. She had men hiding in the room waiting to ambush Samson, and she said to him, "Philistines are upon you, Samson." But he snapped the bowstrings as easily as a flax thread that was scorched when brought near the fire. So the source of his strength was not revealed. Then Delilah said to Samson, "Look, you made a fool of me and told me lies. Now please tell me how you can be tied up." Samson answered her, "Actually, if anyone ties me up with new ropes that have never been used for work, I will become weak and be like any other man." So Delilah took new ropes and tied him up with them. Then she said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." There were men hiding in the room, waiting to ambush Samson, but he tore the ropes off his arms as if they were thread. Delilah said to Samson, "So far you have made a fool of me and told me lies. Tell me how you may be tied up." So she said to her, "If you weave the 7 locks of my hair into the fabric of a loom and fasten them with a pin, I will be as weak as any other man." After she had waited for him to fall asleep, Delilah took 7 locks of his hair and wove them in the fabric of a loom. She fastened them with with the pin and said to him, Philistines are upon you, Samson. But Samson woke up from his sleep and pulled out the pin from the loom along with the fabric. She said to him, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? This makes 3 times you have made a fool of me, and you have not told me where your great strength comes from. This was how she tormented him with her words day after day, and nagged him until he was sick to death of it.
All right. So
He's an idiot.
yeah, he is. but something that you want to pay attention to is go back for just a second. Just one. So look at this. This is interesting. Look at what she says to him. This isn't in our Bible study, but it tells us a lot about their relationship with each other. This makes 3 times you have made a fool of me and have not told me where your great strength comes from. I'm sorry, she's like, how can you say I love you? Right? Mm-hmm. When you've done this 3 times now. And then look what it says in verse 16. This was how she tormented him with her words day after day. Now, what is that equivalent to today? Do you see the pressure here?
Like she doesn't even trust him at all.
Well, yeah.
There's a word for it and I can't think of it.
Yeah, she's gaslighting. She's making him feel like it's his fault.
Yep.
Right? And then she's manipulating him. Did you notice that? She's saying, if you really loved me, then you would do this for me. And we see that with the young kids, or even maybe older kids today, with sexual kinds of things. If you love me, then you will give me this.
True love doesn't have to be proven.
There you go. True love doesn't have to be proven. These are important things. So let's go to question number 1. Question. Do you go through that? Okay, good. Question number 1. What were the sins at work in this situation? Andrea, would you read verses 4 and 5?
Sometime after that, Samson fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. The Syrians of the Philistines approached her and said, persuade him to reveal where his great strength comes from, and how we may overpower him, tie him up, and humiliate him. Each of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver.
Okay, so real quick, what pops out at you in these 2 verses that shows sins beginning to bud?
Adultery and greed.
Okay, where do you see adultery or greed?
Well, the adultery falls in with that he has fallen in love with a woman outside of their country. And obviously, if these Philistines are coming to her, they've got to be spending a lot of time together.
Do you want to see something interesting too? Does anybody have their Bible open to Judges 16?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you read the first 3 verses real quick? Now listen to this. Now mind you, verse number 4 says, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah.
One time Samson went to Gaza. There he saw a prostitute and went to her. The people of Gaza were told, Samson has come here. So they surrounded the town and lay in wait for him all night at the city gate. But they relaxed during the night, saying, let's wait for the light of morning. Then we will kill him. But Samson slept only until midnight. He got up in the middle of the night, grabbed the doors of the city gate, along with the 2 gateposts, pulled them up crossbar and all, set them on his shoulders, and took them up to the top of the hill opposite Hebron.
Now, what just happened right before he fell in love with Delilah?
He was visiting a prostitute.
Yeah, he was having sex with a prostitute. So so imagine this real quick. This like you said, the adultery. He's going prostitute, and then ooh, here's Delilah now, right? And so he's moving on quite fast amongst these relationships. The second one you said was greed. Where do you see that one?
The last verse with that 1,100 shekels of silver. That's
There
a
you
lot
go.
of money.
Yeah, look. So here we go. The love, and then you've got the shekels of silver. In fact, look up here. So we see deceit and loyalty. You can add adultery there. Did she really love him? Now that's interesting too.
She never showed any real interest in Samson until the money was offered.
She wanted something from him, right? But it's interesting that it says he loved her, but it never says that about him or her. she never loved him.
And she was trying to find his weakness and his strength.
In fact, it says he loved her and she wanted something from him,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's what this is. Each of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. So she wanted something. So this was not an equal relationship,
No.
right? This was very much, you might say unhealthy, or you might say advantageous relationship for her because she's getting something out of it, right? All right, so let's go to question number 2. What hints in Samson's history eventually bring his downfall? Now this is, we're going to have a flashback. This is Judges 14 verses 1 through 3, okay? Would anybody like to, maybe Fiona, can you read this? I don't know, can you see it?
Yeah, Samson went down to Timnah. There he saw a young woman who was a Philistine. He went back and told his father and his mother, I saw a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as a wife. But his father and mother said to him, Is there no suitable woman among the young women of your relatives, and among all of the people, that you must go to take a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? Samson insisted to his father, No, get her for me, because in my eyes she is the right one.
So if we were to look at this event with Samson, what does this tell us about his history that is now going to affect his future?
He's a sucker for a pretty face.
He's a sucker for a pretty face, right?
And his parents want him to marry someone nearby.
His parents want him to marry somebody inside the faith. Okay. And how does he respond to their I don't think this is the right woman for you?
I want her. Get her for me.
Yep. And he's being the petulant little child, right? Look at this. This is from Professor Lorenz. He's a Wisconsin Synod professor. Actually just died. Not related to Bible study. We discovered that Samson is willful, undisciplined, spoiled, insubordinate, and wrong. Samson's parents knew enough to tell their son what was right. Samson thrust aside the fourth commandment, honor your father and mother, by not listening to them. Barking commands rather than making requests is the mark of a child too often indulged. And I thought this was kind of a good description of Samson. I want you to think about Samson for just a second. Undisciplined, spoiled, insubordinate, and wrong.
Mhm.
And it all goes back to that fourth commandment. And if you remember the fourth commandment, it's the only one with the promise. Honor your father and mother, that it may be well with you and you may live a long life on the earth. Right? And he doesn't listen, and we know how his life is going to end.
He's also very arrogant.
Yeah. He's arrogant from the strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see that before long how he kind of comes into Delilah. That shifts in the same Nebuchadnezzar kind of way. He goes from trusting in God for strength to, it's not what God has done for me that gives me strength. I'm so arrogant, I'm even going to divulge my secrets. Right? All right, so let's go to the next one. This is another bit of his history. Anybody want to read Judges 15?
After a number of days during the wheat harvest, Samson came to visit his wife and brought a kid goat with him. He said, "Let me go into my wife's room." But her father did not let him go. Her father said, "I was so convinced that you hated her that I gave her to a companion."
Now
Your companion.
he's been gone for a long time. I want you to remember that. You can't tell that from the scriptures, but he's been gone quite a while from his wife, this woman, this Philistine that he meets. And what here is a hint of how he treats this whole situation.
She's mine. I brought her a gift. Now she has to do what I say.
Specifically, sex.
Yep.
Where do you get that from that text?
Let me go into my wife's room.
Yeah, he wants to go into the wife's room. This is what we get from Bible study tools. It says the emphasis on going into his wife's room suggests that the visit was more about sex than reconciling with his wife. He didn't really want to be back on the same level with his wife. What did he want?
Sex.
He wanted sex. So this is building us a kind of a, if we're looking at this as kind of like, our theme is kind of like CSI kind of stuff, it's building us a case file of Samson. So far he's willful, he's arrogant, he's does things that he wants, Now we know that how he kind of treats women, right? And now we've already touched on this one, but one time Samson went to Gaza. There he saw a prostitute and went to her, right? And that goes to what you said. I think you said about a pretty face. He likes a pretty face. This becomes his weakness, doesn't it? And that's what we see here. Later, Samson went to the Philistine city of Gaza and stayed with a prostitute whom he met in passing. So Samson had a history of doing foolish things to get a woman he wanted. Right? So he saw something and he did anything he could to get that woman. Get it the way he wanted it. Were they always wise things? And are they going to lead him in good places? All right. So now we have a case file of our victim.
And none of them last long either.
Yeah, oh, that, absolutely. His wife's relationship lasted a short time. In fact, he's with her on the wedding day. Then he leaves. He comes back, and they're told he's gone so long, the father thought he had gone forever, right? The prostitute, how long does the liaison with the prostitute last?
Till midnight.
Yeah, till midnight, we know.
He stayed with her for a while.
Yeah.
But
And how about Delilah? We're going to talk about that because we do actually have a little bit of an inclination how long he stayed with Delilah. All right, question number. Let's go down to respond. Delilah is an intriguing name. In form, it appears to be a Hebrew name. This opens up the possibility that Delilah was not a Philistine, but one of Samson's own people. In fact, did you know it never calls her a Philistine?
She was just among the Philistines.
She was among the Philistines. And the name Delilah...
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, there you go. And the word Philistine actually means to bring low or humiliate Delilah. That's what Delilah means, not Philistine. It means to bring down or humiliate. Now think about what we get. But there. What do we get from what she's going to do?
Well, she did weaken him.
She's going to weaken him. She's going to bring him down, make him weak, and humiliate him. Right? So it's kind of interesting there that we see that this kind of gives us a little bit of a hint, doesn't it? I mean, how would you respond to this whole thing then? Okay, you said birds of a feather flock together. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, she was in that culture.
Of the Philistines.
Yeah.
And their god was Dagon, if you know Dagon, who is a sex god, right? And they had temple prostitutes. And so even though she was a Jew, could have been a Jew, even though she could have been a Jew, yes.
So where was the Valley of Sorek? Because
It's
that's where it
amongst the
says she was.
Philistines.
So she could have maybe had Jewish roots, but been raised
That
as
birds
a
of a feather,
Philistine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's living in this place with heavy Philistines. She's amongst the people with the temple prostitutes and stuff, right? And so what does that tell us about this relationship between these two? What's going to happen if you have birds of a feather flock together and you put her with someone that is a believer? What's going to happen?
Fall away.
Even sometimes we think, well, at least they're a Christian. That's not enough.
You mix black and white together, you get gray.
That's right. Here's from our catechism. Look at this. This is from our catechism. How may evil lusts be aroused? And look at the reason. Anybody want to read what it says? This is how it says evil lusts are aroused.
Evil lust may be aroused by such things as indecent clothes, dancing, gestures, pornographic books, pictures, movies, idleness, bad company, and drunkenness.
Now look at this. He's partaking of all of these things, isn't he? But bad company when we think about Delilah. And look at this. So this is interesting. Look about Romans. Do not think about how to gratify the desires of your nature. Don't go looking for it. Right? All right. And then look at this one, 1 Corinthians. You want to read that one, someone?
Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character.
Bad company corrupts bad character. Birds of a feather.
It corrupts
flock together.
good character.
Yeah, good character. I'm sorry. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is if you're going to hang around the same kind of people that are doing things you shouldn't be doing, before long, you're going to be doing those
Here I go
things.
back to Confucius.
Yeah. Well, all right, explain.
He who lay down with dogs gets up with fleas.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, absolutely right. So this is something that is happening to Samson. Even he goes to the Philistine, and it doesn't end well. He goes to the prostitute. We know how long that lasts. And now he's going to go to possibly a Jewish woman that has lived with Philistines so long and participated in their culture for so long that she no longer sees a problem with it. Bad character. All right. So compare, we're going to look at two Bible verses. We're going to compare 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22, and 1 Peter 2:11. How do these verses connect both to Delilah and to today? So let's do the first one. Anybody want to read verse 22?
Flee from the lusts young people have and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, together with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart.
Okay. And let's look at Peter. What does Peter say? Anybody want to read Peter?
Dear friends, I urge you, as aliens and temporary residents in the world, abstain from the desires of the sinful flesh which war against your soul.
All right, so how do these connect to today and to Delilah?
There are plenty of things in this world that can push us to sin, to do things that are temporarily gratifying.
Yeah. And look how Paul expressed it. Now, I want you to remember, Timothy is also a young guy, right? And listen to what he's telling this young guy. Flee. I don't think that tells us exactly what we're talking about today. Like, how would you explain this to somebody today?
Run fast.
Run fast. Get away from those lusts that you have,
Right,
because
and
they're
don't
driving
come
you.
back.
They're driving you nowhere good fast, right? And then look what he says: abstain from the desires. What does abstain mean?
Just stay away from.
Stay away. Don't do those desires, right? And I think this is telling, which war against your soul. Think about what a war does, the devastation it causes.
Destruction.
Destruction. And yet, if you let these things into your life, and like Samson is, what's going to happen to his whole life? It's going to destroy him, right? And so if we think about that today for our kids, our grandkids, our neighbors, our children, whatever the case may be, it causes a war that will leave them destructed. Destructed, that's another word. All right, let's go to question, wait a second. This is Lutheran Study Bible. Resist by means of the word. Strong emotions and desires are often associated with youth. All right, so let's go to question number 4. How would you describe Samson and Delilah's relationship in verse 4?
Give, take.
Give, take. Explain it.
Samson gave his love, and Delilah, she was after for herself.
Yeah, let's look at some of the ways she took. Are you ready? Here are the 3 ways that I've identified that she took. Delilah is not loyal. What do I mean by loyal?
She wasn't loyal to him.
She doesn't want him, right? She wants what she can get. All right, what about patient? Delilah is not patient.
Well, she nagged him.
She nagged him.
That's
I want it now. Come on, tell me. Right? So she's pushing it. Now, what about loving?
There's no mutual relationship.
There is no mutual relationship. And you can see that today in the way that people deal with each other in relationships, right? Wherever there's a lack of loyalty, is that relationship going to succeed?
No.
Wherever there's a lack of patience, love is patient, love is kind, is that relationship going to succeed?
not usually.
No. Loving. If there's no love in there, and I mean real love, is that relationship going to succeed?
Mm.
And if you look at the young kids today, I'm talking 14 to 20. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna say this. The young kids today, 14 to 27, right? and you look at those kids, 14 to 27, and the living relationships and things that they get themselves into. And you find out that they live with 3, 4, 5, 6 people sometimes, right? And I was listening to somebody the other day that was on one of those shows where they said they had 55 sexual partners in their history. They were in college. Now, if you look at that, it's because they're not loyal, they're not patient, and they're certainly not loving. Right? All right, let's go to the next little piece there. This is from a lady by the name of Cheryl Exum. Would you like to read that, Andrea?
The text reports that Samson loves Delilah, but not that she loves him. A hint perhaps that she does not love him and will have no qualms about betraying him.
Right. She just wants something. All right, next one. Context. Let's put a little context on this. Fiona, you ever, Noelle, would you mind reading the context? This part is on this back part of your worksheet, I think.
Delilah is condemned as a villain across Jewish and Christian teachings. While this is true in the sense that she sinned and caused others to sin, which is a great sin, it is equally true that this story is not one-sided. Samson was not helpless nor ignorant. In the end, his lack of obedience to the Lord led to his arrest and death.
Okay, there's a lot to conquer here. First thing that I didn't put up here that I wanted to. Does anybody know what this is? Whoever causes others people to sin is a great sin. There's a reference there. Anybody know what that reference is?
Whoever causes the littlest of these.
Yeah, we're not talking about just little children. Whoever causes someone weak in faith or someone cause somebody to sin, it would be better that they would be thrown into the ocean with a millstone hung around. You know, a 3,000-pound weight sunk to the bottom of the ocean. That would be better for you than causing someone to sin. Right? And then, what does this mean? I highlighted this. What does that mean? Samson was not ignorant or helpless.
He was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. She approaches him 3 times with these, and he doesn't get out. Doesn't it pass through his mind what she's trying to do?
Yeah, well, absolutely. My thought on this, you're right, but my thought is also,
He walked into this knowing that what he was doing was a sin.
there it is. He had all the benefits of his upbringing, didn't he? Train up a child in the way that he'd go, and when he's old, he's not going to depart from it. It's not a promise, right? It's a general statement. And what that says is he knew better,
Yeah.
right? He knew better than to go and do this.
Well, and he was a Nazarite. He was chosen before birth. That his parents were given instructions. He could have grown up serving God wholeheartedly and not sinning and probably done a lot more, but instead he became arrogant and foolish and acted like the rules didn't apply to him.
Yeah.
Well, earlier, he had broken so many of the vows.
Yeah.
He was.
But it's interesting that he breaks all these vows, and what is God continuing to do in each of those times?
Use him.
Yeah, so he drinks, and what happens? Does he still have his strength?
Yep.
He eats, and he touches dead things, which he's not supposed to do.
Right.
What does God do? Does he still have his strength?
Yep.
Yeah.
So God is being faithful during all of these things, isn't he? God's saying, you're still hanging on. You're still hanging on. You're still hanging on, right? I'm still here with you during all of these mistakes. But we want to keep in mind that my mom used to say, and this is in reference to fighting, it takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
Right? There's never an innocent party. And so we can dress Delilah up to be this horrible person, which she was. But we also can't say that it was her fault alone. Because could he have any moment put an end to it?
He could have left after the first time he told her a lie about how to take away his strength, and she used it.
Yeah, because he knew that.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our... Oh, what?
I have a question about that. Did he know that the men were hiding at her house?
We're going to talk about that and
Okay.
remind you of that. I think it's one of the slides, but let's talk about that a little bit later. Okay, let's do Judges chapter 16, verses 17 through 24. Would somebody be willing to read that one?
Finally, he told her everything in his heart. He said to her, "A razor has never touched my head, because I have been a Nazarite dedicated to God from the womb of my mother. If I am ever shaved, my strength will desert me, and I will become weak and be like any other man. When Delilah saw that he told her everything in his heart, she sent for the Sarens of the Philistines, saying, "Come back one more time, for he has poured out his heart to me." The Sarens of the Philistines came up to her and brought the silver in their hands. Delilah let Samson fall asleep on her lap. Then she called for a man and shaved off the 7 locks of his head. She began his humiliation, because his strength had left him. She said, "Philistines are upon you, Samson." He awoke from his sleep and said, "I will go out as I have time after time, and I will shake myself free." But he did not realize that the Lord had left him. The Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, brought him down to Gaza, and restrained him with bronze shackles. He had to grind grain in the prison, but the hair on his head began to grow after it had been shaved. Meanwhile, the Sarens of the Philistines gathered to make a great sacrifice to their god Dagon and to celebrate. They said, "Our God has given our enemy Samson into our hands." When the people saw him, they praised their God. "Our God has given our enemy into our hands, the devastator of our land, who has caused the death of many of us."
All right, so let's go to question number 5 now. An easy question. Who are the Sarens? Or the Sarens?
I'm taking it they were the leaders of the Philistines?
Yeah, and here it is up here. So this is simply it. Another way to think of it is tyrants or lords. They were the overseers of the Philistines at the time. We might call them the local governmental leaders. They were the people that had control of the cash, right? And that's simply who they were. If you look at different translations, they all translate them. Some say leaders, some say lords, some, I don't think any of them say tyrants. This is the actual Saren, just a transliteration of the word. All right. So just to get an idea, they're the ones that control the government, the money, right? All right. Let's look at question number 6. Look at verse 18. What surprising fact can we gather from it? Would somebody like to read verse 18?
When Delilah saw that he told her everything in his heart, she sent for the Sarens and of the Philistines, saying, "Come back one more time, for he has poured out his heart to me." The Sarens of the Philistines came up to her and brought the silver in their hands.
All right, so what fact can we kind of mine out of here?
Everybody trusted Delilah so easily.
Yeah, there's something specific here.
Let's see, they put the money up front.
Okay.
Let's see, they said.
She knew that Samson had told her everything in his heart.
All right, more. I'm looking. Andrea, you got yours yet?
I can see the next
Oh.
slide, so I can cheat.
Go ahead, do that.
Cheat, cheat, cheat.
All right. So if you take a look over here, right here, she sent for the Sarens of the Philistines. What does that word "sent" mean?
Called for.
So what does that tell us?
Did Samson know?
He did not know that they were there. In fact, earlier on, right, the first time, so sometimes we think about this in the CC, if you watch the CC DeMille video, right, the old Samson and Delilah movie, okay, you see them kind of hiding out, and they're all in the house or they're around, and it's all bam, 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 very fast. The first time, they were hiding in the closets, right? But where is he at this point? That this all happens. Where is he?
Well, he's sleeping with his head on her lap.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about physically. Where is he geographically?
In her house.
Which is in what valley?
The valley of whatever the name
Sorek,
of that
yeah.
was.
And we know that's where the
Sorek.
Philistines lived, right? So the first time when she says, here they are, or here he is, and the Philistines come in, he may have simply gone, they're always after me. I'm in their land. They're always after me. But here we get something interesting. She sent for the Syrians. It doesn't say how fast they came after. Right? And so historically, historically, if you look at the church fathers, they believe this could have been hours up to a day that it took for them to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is indulging for that full time. And so he and she's not here. he may have not known that they were even there. Right? All right. So let's go to the next one. So this is BibleStudiesTools.com. It says, first, the text doesn't say that the Philistines showed up immediately after Samson talked to Delilah. It says Delilah sent word to the Philistines after talking to Samson. There was some time delay, possibly a day or more, between Samson's talking to Delilah and the Philistines actually showing up. All right, let's look at this next context piece, current insight. This is in that little box in the middle. I don't know how helpful it is, but it's kind of just interesting. Would somebody like to read that one?
Delilah is not called a harlot. Samson is the profligate, and it is perhaps because he visits a harlot in Judges 16, 1 through 3, that some readers conclude that Delilah is also a harlot. The phrase, and after that he fell in love with a woman, also links the two women.
Okay, so sometimes if you read more contemporary views of Delilah, they're going to call her a prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no proof of that.
But it doesn't seem that way, right? In fact, it seems like he visited the prostitute and then fell in love. So there's that separation. Do you see what I mean? So I don't know how helpful it is. Just if you hear that, keep that in mind. All right, question number 7. Samson betrays God in many ways. How do people betray God in similar ways?
Today.
And here's an example of Delilah. Delilah let Samson fall asleep on her lap. Then she called for a man and shaved off his 7 locks, and she began his humiliation because his strength left him.
Well, there are many times that people say they are doing something in God's name when they really aren't.
Yeah, oh, that's right. And we also want to keep in mind that we can apply the lessons from Samson and Delilah today, right? The first can be, of course, that we need to watch out for arrogance, right? You said he was arrogant. How was he arrogant?
Well, when he visited the prostitute and he left, he just breaks the doors off and carries them around like a trophy.
There was more to that one. Taking the doors off, that was more than just carrying the doors away.
Yeah, but
he was disgracing the Philippines,
Exactly.
Philippians greatly, because the doors of the gates represented the authority and the power of the Philistines.
Right. Now, further on something you had said earlier, Tim, how stupid he must be that she's done this 3 times. Why do you think he was so bold in that stupidity?
He was arrogant. Nothing could destroy him.
There it is. Nothing could destroy him. Every time he'd broken one of God's law, right? Don't drink, don't touch dead things. Nothing ever happened before, right? And look, I'm still strong. And what can this woman and these few Philistines, what can they possibly do to me?
And even after she had cut his locks off, he was still like, as usual, I'm going to go out and I'm going to whip their butts.
Yep, that's right. And so one thing we need to remember is no matter how blessed we might seem to be at that moment, how do we need to respond? We need to be humble. Mm-hmm. Because God's actually the one. The next one that we can look at is consider carefully who you fall for. All right? Talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids about this, talk to your friends. All right? Did he fall for the right people?
No.
No. And his parents tried to tell him that, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
His mom and dad said, may not be the right person in mind with the first
I think
girl.
his parents were trying to tell him to get someone from the village,
Yeah.
not from outside that.
While Samson telling Delilah his secret was foolish, there was a gradual weakening as she pressured him daily, right? So even though he could withstand maybe the first time, the second time, she's slowly wearing him down, and that's what happens in our relationships.
talk about some of his arrogance is the fact that he would repeatedly go back in amongst the Philistines.
Yeah.
And how many of his fellow tribesmen would ever dare to do that?
Yep.
But I mean, he just walks in their midst and, you know, head to shoulders above them all.
There it is.
And I mean, you talk about arrogance.
The final one that we have is remember that love isn't just about you. All right? Because she didn't respond with that love that he had, and that got him into trouble, didn't it? So here you see Samson didn't think very carefully about the romantic partners he pursued. He didn't understand that selecting a partner doesn't just affect the two people involved. It involves becoming part of the community. A partner's family, the neighborhood they live in, and that community will be affected by whatever choices the couple makes, right? And so, you know, it really does take a village. And think about when you bring somebody into the church.
So there was a book I had read a while ago. It was, I think it was a Karen Kingsbury, because it sounds like a Karen Kingsbury. But it was about two married people in the church that fell in love, divorced their spouses, and married each other. And because they did this and kept going to that church, it wound up bringing down the entire church family because their actions gave their families bad reputations, their church families bad reputations, etc. The church never did anything about it because both people were from families that had founded the church, and they didn't feel like they could. And that's,
You know, and that's interesting. Now this is more historical, but I've been watching these documentaries lately, and it is, first of all, horrifying how many of our presidents are unfaithful men. First of all, but the second thing that I thought was interesting is on both sides of the aisle, one of the things that kept coming up was that the wife would often say, "But this isn't just about me,"
yeah.
right? And they would fight for the relationship because they realized that choice of ending that relationship had not just effects on them, but on a much larger scale. And so, like you said, with the church, you have to recognize that it affects you, it affects your children, it affects the people around you, your family, and the problems that can be caused by that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. So this is question number 8. Question number 8 says this: what does it mean when it says he did not realize that the Lord had left him?
He had not realized he had left the Lord.
Yeah. He didn't realize how bad it had become,
Yeah.
right? You had said he was so arrogant, you know, he thought he was just going to be powerful forever. And that's really what it was. That he comes out and he thinks everything is going to be fine. Look at this. It says, God had been long suffering with Samson's sinful ways. But now, with Samson repudiating his final sign of dedication to God. What was that final sign?
His hair.
His hair. So remember, God was with him when he touched the dead animal. God was with him when he when he drank the wine. But God said, this is the line. Okay? The Holy Spirit left him because of the strength came from God and not as he assumed from himself. Samson now had nothing but weakness. How do we sometimes get to this position in our lives?
Snowflake at a time.
I like that. One snowflake looks like nothing, but enough fall, and before long, you're up to your eyeballs, right? And that's exactly right. And that is Samson's real problem here, right? One thing isn't the problem; it's the abundance of things. Okay, you got something?
Well, I was just thinking, you know, when we're reading all this, we don't understand time. We read this and it all happened in the time we read it. But it's obviously, this did not happen overnight. This was a very long, gradual thing. that wore him down.
And I think that's interesting too, because if you look in the book of Judges, right? We for some reason, I know you guys can probably tell me more, but if you were to ask your average person on the street what they know about Deborah, what are they going to say?
Debbie
Not too
Gibson.
If you ask somebody about Gideon, they're probably going to know bits and pieces, right? If you go through any of the judges and you ask, they're going to know little bits. But if you ask them about Samson, what are they going to tell you? A much larger story. And I think it's what you said right there, that it's a slow deterioration. And so the Bible spends more time talking about him because he didn't just defend the people, it was his fall, right? It was the great fall that gets the attention. All right, so let's go to the next one. The next kind of interesting thing that happens is at the very end of our text, it says the Philistines thought that they had won. Their God had won. Why would they believe that their God had won at this moment?
Because Samson became weak and they got their enemy, so they thought they won the war.
Yeah, Samson had spanked them many times, hadn't he? He had taken out people. He had really been a defender. And so the fact that this unbeatable man was now beaten, and are you ready for this? By a woman. Think about that for a second in Jewish thought, right? What's that going to do to him? What's that going to do for these people? They're going to think, we've won, right? And so this is what I've written. The Philistines viewed Delilah's success in manipulating Samson as a sign that their God was more powerful than an Israelite God in that moment, demonstrating their triumph over their enemy. All right, next one. Why his eyes? All right, so let's find out. Why were his eyes gouged out? What connection might we make with Matthew 5:29? Anybody want to read Matthew 5:29 first of all?
If your right eye causes you to fall into sin, pluck it out and throw it away from you. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell.
So why? Why his eyes?
He was so easily brought into sin by pretty women. He can't keep looking at them anymore.
There it is, right? What brought him to his sins every single time?
Lust.
Lust. So what was the Philistines' reason for removing the eyes?
We've defeated
Control.
you.
Control.
Control. You take his eyes away and you can lead him around by a string.
Absolutely. But what a beautiful picture. I know it's not beautiful. What an amazing picture to think. He had been led around by his eyes his entire life. Right? It was always about what he saw that he wanted. And so it just kind of pulled him about. And that is this picture you're getting here. I think it's kind of a neat one. This is interesting. I found this from an ancient church father. Taking away his ability to see, therefore, his ability to follow his desires, which had led him to betray his secrets to Delilah. Essentially, his lustful eyes were seen as the source of his downfall. That's kind of the ancient church how they looked at it. I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was a neat way of looking at it. All right, question number 11. What other villains does Delilah bring to mind? You got any other people you can bring to mind with Delilah in the Bible?
Jezebel.
How Jezebel? We're going to talk about her next week.
She was a wicked queen. She was married to Ahab, who was a Jewish king, but she led him into all kinds of sin.
Yeah.
And she hated him. She always called him weak and whiny.
I think you're right. Very different in the direction I was going.
Eve.
Eve. How Eve?
She, over her desire for the apple.
Oh, very good. She wanted something and then passed it, yeah?
Yep, and she betrayed all her offspring.
So I went even more rudimentary than that. This is the one that I got. You ready for it? Judas. What did Judas betray Jesus for?
Money.
30 pieces of silver. I did the math, by the way. In today's money, that's $264.
Well,
That will buy us groceries for a week.
Yeah, so like, if you include inflation for at the time what it would have been worth, it would have been worth our equivalent of about 264.
But that was equivalent to a price of a slave.
Yeah, that was a lot. And look at this. Delilah betrayed Samson for 1,100 shekels per person.
Yeah, that's now
Yeah.
it adding up.
We believe that was probably 5 people from outside non-biblical sources, which would be a value of about $48,400. Which means if she was a teenager to mid-20s, she could retire on that in those days.
Today it would
Right.
just say,
Look at this one. I don't know if you know this. The very next set of stories is about Micah, and Micah's mother takes 1,100 silver coins, and she has them melted down and fashioned into an idol. It's to honor Micah. And in today's world, that's about $9,000. So it's kind of interesting when we look at that. Another thing I just want to kind of put in your mind real quick is this up here. Go back to the last one. This tells us how much the Philistines hated him. Because trying to get people to spend their money, can you imagine? All right. So question number 12. Where was Delilah after Samson's arrest? Where was she? He gets arrested. They gouge out his eyes. They have him do the little thing. They take him to the palace. Where is she at?
She's out of the picture.
Oh,
Yeah.
not according to some pop culture.
Oh.
Let's watch. Here's a famous movie by C.C. DeMille. You're gonna recognize it.
I pray thee, strengthen me, O God. Strengthen me only this once.
There's Delilah.
Oh.
What's he doing?
He's holding up the temple.
Urge Samson to his knees beneath the feet of Dagon.
This is better than I had bargained for.
What a man's praise. Oh, John, he's the funniest clown I've ever seen.
Look! It moved.
The column's moving. He has freed the stone. This man has the strength of a devil. No, the strength of a god.
Be more powerful than Samson. Forward, run him through.
My eyes have seen thy glory, O God. Now let me die with my enemies.
All right. So according to every movie that I've ever seen, where is Delilah?
Probably in that room once.
She's in that room. Now, here's my challenge to you. Find where the Bible says that.
It doesn't.
It doesn't say that.
But they're going, this is what you call artistic liberty.
Yes, it is.
And you know, the fabric of the thought might be here is that they're assuming that since she's the one that brought Samson down, and they're having a celebration because of him, she was invited.
Yeah, so that would be another interesting thing too. That if she wasn't a Philistine, if her name is Hebrew, would she possibly have been there? Probably not. Could she have been there? Probably. Does it matter?
No.
All right, so let's go to the next one. What Delilah did after this is not known, although many adaptations of the story have depicted her as being at the final scene of Samson's life. Kind of a word. People like to wrap these stories up in a bow, right? So I'll give you an example. Do you remember Salome, the child dancer that dances for King Herod? Okay. What happened to John the Baptist?
He was beheaded.
He was beheaded. So if you look, you can find the urban legends, I guess we would call them today, of what happened to her. And she moves to a European part of Rome, right? They think Gaul is because that's where her family would have served after. She moves up there, and one day she's walking on ice. The ice breaks. She slips, and her head is cut off. Yeah. How fitting, right? But do we know that from the scriptures?
No.
No. So why would somebody say something like Delilah's here, or John the Baptist, the girl that asked for this gets her head cut off?
Makes it sound better.
It sounds better. But let's be careful to not go beyond what scripture says.
I think it's fitting that those stories abruptly end with the person that they betrayed, because it's almost like God is saying, you only mattered in so much as you played a part in this. You don't matter after that.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting question, and we did see this in the movie, and that was accurate. Where can we find God's grace in this biblical history? Undeserved favor is another word for grace. Where can we find his undeserved favor in this story?
Samson asked for the power to...
There it is.
Yeah.
Samson confesses, he receives absolution, and the second he confesses, the second he has heart repentance, what does the Lord do?
Give him his strength back.
He gives him his strength back. And that's right, look, that Samson had already committed by giving away the very secret of his strength to Delilah. Samson died better than he had lived. For this reason, Samson belongs among the heroes of the faith, as listed in Hebrews chapter 11. It all goes back to that confession and that absolution, right? So Samson lived his life in a way that was unpleasing to God, and yet God never wrote him off. God never said, I'm completely done with you. It says the Spirit of the Lord left him, right? He was a non-believer. But what happens then?
He turns back.
He turns to the faith, right? And the Lord gives him grace, right? And that's why if you go to Hebrews chapter 11 on your own, there's what we call the Hall of Fame of Heroes there, where it lists all the people in the Bible that are heroes, or many of them. And Samson, despite all of his garbage, is considered a hero of the faith. All right, with that, I think we're done for the evening. Anybody got any additional comments, questions, concerns? All right, well, let's end with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that although we are often sinners, and although we often find ourselves in situations like we talked about tonight, you do not abandon us. You redeem us with your undeserved gift, with your grace. Continue to walk with us, Lord, and learn from these histories of Scripture. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, well, God's blessings. Join us on Sunday as we continue our walk along Lutheran history, and we will see you this Sunday.